You're watching Red Pill 78, the corruption detector. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining me. Today is Saturday, December 8th, 2018. Can't believe we're almost done with 2018. It seems like you blinked your eyes and you missed it. But there has been so much that's happened, hasn't there? Well, I'd like to start off today with an amazing graphic that was brought to us by the Anons at 8chan. This is on Brendan Dilley's Twitter page. You can see here that it's a graphic of GW, Jeb, and Laura, and some other members of the attendees at the George H.W. Bush funeral. Don't worry about the size. I'm actually going to pull it up in a much bigger size right now so that you can take a closer look. All right, so we start here on the left, and we can see here that we begin with Laura with her hand on her chest looking at the coffin, and here's an agent watching her, taking a look. And right here, he does a handoff with the infamous envelope and the secret message that she showed to Jeb. So the handoff has been made. You can see Laura is reading it. She's taken that first look. Her mouth drops in shock and horror at what she's seeing. She shows Jeb. Jeb hasn't quite seen it yet. This agent right here is staring at George W. Bush, and you can see George is looking at someone, perhaps POTUS. And then here is this agent staring right at the camera because he knows this is being captured. Scroll down a little bit further, and Jeb does a double take at the information Laura is showing him. She glares at POTUS while Jeb comes to the realization of what he saw. Laura says to GW, "Is this real?" George W. Bush says, "Yep." Jeb is there in shock and disbelief. His hand drops from his heart. Laura still in shock and disgust. And look at that look of quiet resignation on George W. Bush's face. It's written here, acceptance, possibly cooperation. And the agent, too, is watching for signals. The pain. And he's staring directly at this agent right here. Are these handlers or are they protectors? I'd say they're probably more like handlers. Jeb becomes stiff with fear. We're getting arrested, he thinks. Here, Laura has realization that George W. Bush has flipped. Think biggest. Shame and acceptance of what he's done. And these guys are ready for them to run, watching for the signal to see what they're thinking from in front. Beautiful, beautiful breakdown. I love this. It's incredible to see each of these moments play out. Because somebody mentioned the other day that they thought George W. Bush had flipped. And I said, I don't know. Jeb's weak. I think Jeb would have flipped first. But after thinking about it, George W. probably had committed the most amount of criminal activity outside of his father, what with the destruction of 9/11 and everything that came after it. Everything he had to lie about, the bombs, not the planes. Not to say there weren't planes. It looked to me like there were planes, but that destruction obviously couldn't have happened without bombs as well to bring the buildings down in a controlled demolition style. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's highly unlikely that you don't. But check out Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. If you or anyone else that you know is still using the argument that the buildings just came down because of those planes, then show them this website because it shows you the scientific proof of how and why they actually came down and the fact that it couldn't have happened the way that the official story says that it happened. All right, so thank you very much. I do have that tweet on my Twitter feed from Brendan Dilley. That's at RedPill78 on Twitter. So let's close out Brendan here. Actually, I got to close that first. And then that right there. Next, we have a tweet from Lisa at NASCAR4Rocks. And she's got an image here showing that Mike Pence and his wife also received an envelope. So now the question is, was it only bad actors that got envelopes? Or are these different messages for different people? I don't know. Ever since the beginning, I've had a lot of people telling me that Mike Pence cannot be trusted. There was an individual that during the election was saying a lot of crazy things about Mike Pence and his love of pizza and torture, horrible, horrible things. That gentleman ended up dead. Now, there's a couple of thought tracks on this. Trump is a genius. That just goes without saying. It's incontrovertible. But he would be the kind of person that I think would keep your friends close and your enemies closer. If Trump doesn't trust Pence, but knows that he's weak and controllable, he could very easily have Pence as close as he has so that he could keep an eye on him. But he would also have him there if he trusted him. Now, if Pence is not a good guy and Trump has him there just to keep an eye on him, it makes sense that he's doing it because he's controllable. The same way that he is using Mueller in the position that he is now. So, interesting picture, interesting tweet from NASCAR for Rocks. All right, and moving on. We've got Joe Hagnall Joey Hagnall on Twitter, one of my followers, and somebody who posted an article about the Bush bolt hole. The bolt hole, a bolt hole, is kind of a hideout spot where people can go to get away from it all. So this is actually linking to an article on Steemit. Let's go ahead and jump over here to Steemit. If you guys don't know what Steemit is, it's kind of a crypto blog. You can go there, you post articles, and people share them. And depending on how much they share them, your article gains value. It's a pretty neat concept. I have used it in the past, but I haven't posted anything recently. I need to, kind of streamline things before I get over to that point. But this gentleman right here, Strapasynthon, I found the Bush bolt hole in Paraguay. And you can see here some photos from Google Maps. He's got this abandoned ranch house labeled Mayor Pablo Lagarenza, probably a politician in Paraguay. And then he's got this road mapped out. Now right here, he shows there is an airstrip, which would make it very easy for the Bush family to fly in, fly out. Paraguay is fairly remote. And then you've got a security perimeter right here. All right, so let's continue on. The main members of the Bush family have left CONUS after Trump's executive order. CONUS is the continental United States. The latest satellite view can be found here, and I won't link to that, but you guys can check that out if you like. Older satellite views are available on Google Earth, which has some very interesting still photos of the area. He links to an article on Reddit, published here, Why the Bushes Were Allowed to Exit the Continental United States. The priority of QAnon's white hats is the safety of the American people. The Romans, when attacking barbarians, always left them an escape route because they knew if the barbarians were cut off, they would fight to the death and the Romans would suffer a lot of unnecessary casualties. In the Bush's case, think Harvest Festival massacres in all major cities simultaneously. The Bush family is powerful enough and has tentacles that reach far enough to make something like this happen. Don't even doubt it. The QAnon team is doing a magnificent job, and I am one of their biggest fans. It is a four-dimensional chess game. They can take solace in the fact that they have already won, and this is a mopping-up Operation Endgame. The dark side was defeated when the Allies developed the atomic bomb before the Nazis. If the satanic Illuminati had not reneged on the deal to just demonstrate it on an isolated military target instead of laying waste to 2 Japanese civilian cities, the White Dragon Society, the equivalent of the Western Masons' Gnostic Illuminati, would have provided all the gold to rebuild the world, and we would have just had the just and beautiful society we've had to wait so long for. Where are the main Bush family criminals now? In the middle of a Paraguayan national park called Defensores del Chaco, Defenders of Chaco, on the outskirts of the Paraguayan town of Mayor Pablo Lagarenza. Okay, so that's a town. That's not an individual. Sorry about that. Why Paraguay? The U.S.-Paraguay extradition treaty has a denial loophole under Article 4 if the offense is political. Plus, immunity from national and international criminal court ICC jurisdiction by Paraguay forced on them through threatened withdrawal of loan monies. This is an article backing up that statement. What are my reasons for justifying the site identified above? Communications. In such a remote and inhospitable location with only dirt tracks for roads, for a world leader to maintain communications with his network, the first thing you would need is military-grade communications. Notice the 2 round planar radar, I think he means radars, pointing directly up into space. One for uplink and the other for downlink for continuous asynchronous communications. What is their longitude? 61 degrees west. What geostationary satellite sits on this longitude? The Hipposat geostationary satellite whose orbit is fixed at 61 degrees west. Good eye. What mysterious international class airport that no planes ever seem to fly in or out of sits on this same longitude some 250 kilometers due south? Mariscal Estigarribia Air Base, built with U.S. loan money. It has a runway longer than the main runway at Asuncion, the capital of Paraguay. No planes are ever seen on flight tracker software flying in or out of MEA, airport code ESG. It lies under the main flight path from the eastern states of USA to Buenos Aires and Montevideo. Where is the closest light plane airfield? Only 1.5 kilometers away at the HQ of the 5th Paraguayan Infantry Division in the military town of Mayor Pablo Lagarenza, part of the 3rd Corps of the Paraguayan Army that has its HQ at Mariscal Estigarribia. At the Light Aircraft Airport, a war memorial that celebrates the ancestors of those that fought in the Chaco War features a lone soldier and a Dutch lion looking behind him on a tall stepped cenotaph. The Chaco War that Paraguay won was a devastating war for both nations. Who did they fight? I don't know. That's not written. The origin of the war is commonly attributed in Latin America to a conflict between the oil companies Royal Dutch Shell, backing Paraguay, and Standard Oil supporting Bolivia. There we go. The U.S. Secret Service agencies have a long history in this area, and GWB had all the files. A helicopter could also land on the cleared quadrangle at the front entrance to the ranch, besides which sits what looks like a radio beacon. Protection. The ranch is protected by a full infantry division of the Paraguayan military, with the HQ of its corps located at Mariscal Estigarribia, which has another infantry and cavalry division under its control for immediate mobilization. Notice there are no running rivers which a water-based assault might be able to use. The ranch sits on a dried river course filled with brackish black water. Where have I heard that term before? A hint of who guards the inner perimeter outlined in red on the JPEG, maybe? Oh, talking about Blackwater. Land size. The only detailed piece of information we have about the purchase was the size of the ranch purchased in 2006. The facility is older than that and has been around for a while based on satellite images dating from 2003. It was obviously an unacknowledged CIA command, control, and communications post back then, as the planar radars were there then. The area is renowned for drug and arms smuggling, with Bolivian cocaine and Paraguayan high-grade marijuana crossing the porous Paraguay-Brazil border. The size of the land purchased was 98,840 acres, or 154.437 square miles. The land is notorious for being hard to navigate, as the flat and dense bush makes it impossible to spot landmarks. Cattle yards, roads, and proprietary boundaries that follow the roads are gun barrel straight. If you create a rough polygon around the main roads bordering the ranch using Google Earth, you create an area containing 155 square miles, or 99,200 acres, shown in my JPEG. Outlined in blue is where 2% of the reported land area. A road runs right through the middle of the ranch, and a photo of an abandoned ranch house with huge cattle yards is seen close to it, possibly the original farmhouse. No cattle are visible in any satellite image. All right, so this is only about halfway through the article. I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to let you guys go and check it out. I'll leave a comment pinned below with the link to the article, or you can go to my Twitter feed at RedPill78 and check out the tweet there. But I want to thank you, Joey, for putting that up there so that I could share it. All right, so we're reaching the end here. Lastly, I have some sad news. I really like John Kelly. I think John Kelly has been a positive force in the White House. But if it's time for him to move on, it's time for him to move on. The Daily Caller reports that President Trump today said that John Kelly will be leaving the White House. White House Chief of Staff General John Kelly will leave his position at the end of the year, President Donald Trump told reporters before departing for the Army-Navy game Saturday. John Kelly will be leaving. I don't know if I can say retiring, but he's a great guy. John Kelly will be leaving at the end of the year. We'll be announcing who will be taking John's place. I'll be announcing that over the next day or two. But John will be leaving at the end of the year. He's been with me almost 2 years now. John Kelly will be leaving toward the end of the year. At the end of the year, Trump said, according to the White House press pool. It's interesting that he repeated it so many times. I don't know if that's because he had so many people asking questions around him and he just kept saying it to emphasize it. or to let us know that John Kelly's not going to be leaving, within the next day or so. Trump spoke with Kelly Friday about the situation, and the pair agreed to part ways, according to a source close to Kelly. The source continued that Kelly intended to make the announcement Monday, but that the president got ahead of him. The source characterized the departure as neither a firing nor a resignation. Trump's announcement marks the end of tremendous speculation in Washington about Kelly's departure. Media reports abounded Friday that Kelly was expected to resign, though a knowledgeable source directly familiar with the matter told the Daily Caller that Chief of Staff had no intention of doing so. This intention may have changed after the Friday conversation. Another knowledgeable source directly familiar with the matter told the D.C. Friday that Trump had made the decision to oust Kelly some time ago. This source added that the job is likely to be assumed by Vice President Mike Pence's Chief of Staff, Nick Ayers. All right, so that's all I'm going to have for this video. I think I'm approaching my time limit. Just do want to let everyone know that my next video I'm going to be releasing later today is going to be on MK Ultra, the CIA's illegal mind control program. So if you have any interest in that, please join me later today. I want to thank everyone who did show up today and who has been commenting and sharing my videos. I really appreciate the support, you guys, and I appreciate that there are so many people out there waking up, and also so many out there who have been awake and are now comfortable talking about the truth. Once again, this is Red Pill 78, the corruption detector. Good luck and God bless.